Hey guys, hope everyone's doing well this week. So I wanted to talk about Jiu-Jitsu media, kind of specifically social media, but I'm not too strict on my definition for media. And I just wanted to introduce some of the sites that I use and follow on my like Instagram and my Facebook, and just kind of give you some rundown about like the quality of the sources and stuff. So one of the sites that I follow a lot is BJJ Heroes. I'm actually on there as well as some other black belts. So just a little bit about BJJ Heroes, and I'm just going to include some links in the description too if you guys want to check them out, check out the website and stuff. So BJJ Heroes, kind of like the name says, it's about Jiu-Jitsu heroes, so like up and coming black belts and like legends in our sport, as well as like the top coaches and competitors. One really cool thing about BJJ Heroes is that it stays updated pretty frequently, so you can actually look at the results, tournament results from a lot of competitors. You can see like their how many matches they won, how many matches they lost, and kind of a little bit of background information on some of these athletes. Excuse me. Um, Sorry about that, guys. Um, One cool thing about BJJ Heroes is that they also cover a lot of news in the jiu-jitsu community. So like major tournaments, I know they cover like Worlds and ADCC. They also do they do like the results as well, so you can see what happened and kind of like a play-by-play breakdown of what went on during the tournament. The main guy behind BJJ Heroes, I believe, is Andre Borges. So I think he's a one man show. So he actually will contact some of the athletes and get information on them, or he'll, do a lot of research on the athletes, and then he posts on his website. And again, it's really up to date. So I learned a lot about who the up and coming black belts uh, are through this website, as well as like the major tournaments that are coming up and who's competing. So it's definitely a high quality source. Andre, he's a really diligent, so he, like I said, he updates all the time, and you can see he's very diligent too. So you'll see like detailed information. So it's definitely a great website to check out. Go check them out, guys. So the next website, kind of jiu-jitsu news source that I follow is BJJ BJJ Eastern Europe is a long form. So BJJ there's a lot about this one. I'm not sure who's in charge of this or who runs it or who owns it, but they are pretty quick to post like jiu-jitsu news. So like if someone switches a team or someone decides to do a tournament, they're usually pretty fast on reporting news. But a lot of their sources, I'm not really sure like how reliable they are most of the time or how accurate it can be on some of the subjects. I know they use a lot of guest posts, so they have people that will write posts for them, as well as I'm assuming they have their own team, someone that posts for them as well. One thing about them is that they do like very short articles that are designed to get like clicks. So it is a little bit of clickbait, but every now and again they will have a really good post. So they might post like 7 times in a day. So it's kind of hard to keep up with all of their posts, but usually they will hit. They'll get a home run every now and again. So I would definitely take their information with a grain of salt. But a lot of times they're quick to post, so you might like a rumor, something that's a rumor, they might catch on really fast, but you never know if it's true or not. So that was BJJ. The next grappling news source that I'm going to talk about is Flow Grappling. So this is probably the biggest player in the jiu-jitsu news media. They have the most money and probably the biggest following, I believe. They cover just about every major event as well as like live streaming. So that's where their bread and butter is. They have exclusive rights to all the tournaments. So they're the ones that do the live streaming for the ADCC and all these other tournaments like the World Pro and world. So they're in charge of that. They also will do like really great interviews and documentaries, like high quality. So I actually started following Flow Grappling with their other website, Flow Wrestling. So they were really big in wrestling and some other collegiate, like American collegiate sports. And then they moved on to Jiu-Jitsu fairly recently, maybe like the last 2 or 3 years or something like that. They moved on to, the streaming of Jiu-Jitsu events and tournaments. But I would definitely consider them probably the number one, just because of it in the media realm, just because of their resources. Again, high quality production, really great videos. I don't know if it's like 4K, but it's really high quality. They also will travel a lot. So this is like more traditional media for jiu-jitsu. They have journalists and reporters that will go to these tournaments and some really high-level academies, and they'll film and do little video teasers for the academies and all the athletes. So that's really great. It's really great for the sport. Um, the media team, I think is headed by a guy named, I'm gonna mess his name up. I can't pronounce it. He's from the UK, but his name's Hewell Teague, I believe. I'm sorry if I messed your name up, buddy. So he is kind of like the mastermind behind the media, I believe. So he'll go and write all these articles, and he's in charge of like a lot of the media, like the film and the posting. So I believe he's a very integral part. One thing I would like, Flow Grappling, they have so much good information and good stuff going on. One thing I would like to see is just like more coverage of jiu-jitsu up and comers and some of those lesser known athletes. I know they don't have a huge resources just because jiu-jitsu is still a niche sport. But I would like to just see just more coverage all around. But hopefully, as jiu-jitsu continues to grow, we'll get more. My next one is kind of, so I was talking about social media, but this one's kind of print media as well as social media, and this is Gracie Mag slash the IBJJF. So they're owned by the same person, I believe, the same company. So the IBJJF stands for the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and they're the governing body behind all the major tournaments in jiu-jitsu. So like the Pan Championships, the European Championships, Brasileiro, the World Championship, they're in charge of, as well as numerous tournaments that they have within the U.S. and around the world. So this is the big player. So the IBJJF used to handle their own media. They still do, but like the live streaming. But then I guess they sold the rights. So they partnered with Flow Grappling. So Flow Grappling really wasn't into jiu-jitsu until the federation partnered with them. So that's kind of how they got in the door there. One thing about the IBJJF is that it's a private organization. So it's not a true governing body in the sense that it has fair and equal representation. Like FILA, which is the wrestling, it handles wrestling, or it did handle wrestling, and other organizations. And so the main guy behind the IBJJF and Gracie Mag, which is kind of the same thing, pretty much. Gracie Mag is the print version of for the print media for IBJJF. So the main guy is Carlos Gracie Jr., and he's the guy behind the Gracie Baja chain affiliations and schools. You don't really hear too much about Carlos Gracie Jr. He used to be more more present within the community, and he still is, but he doesn't have to be on the floor. He's not on the ground. He has people that work for him that handle everything. So Carlos Gracie Jr. He's probably the most powerful guy in jiu-jitsu, to be honest, just because he's in charge of the biggest tournaments, and he's in charge of like the media, partnering with Flow Grappling. Um, with the IBJJF, they do handle their own media, so they don't handle the streaming of tournaments, but they do handle like their own Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. So they're still pretty active, but not as much as they used to be. So their focus is more is more on promoting tournaments. Um, and then again, Gracie Mag is their print media, and print media is kind of dying, so I can't say too much about Gracie Mag. I can't say too much about Gracie Mag, but they still have Gracie Mag. Um, it's still out there if you really diehard fan. You can grab a copy and keep up with some of the stories. Um, but just the internet's so fast now. By the time you read the Gracie Mag article, it's like 100 million things have already happened since that time. And so they're still really good on doing interviews with athletes, just because they're the governing body. So when the guy wins or girl wins, they can interview the person right there. So Gracie Mag will still do interviews and little articles and stuff like that. So they're still pretty relevant. Um, they're also they've been around the longest, so since like the 90s. So they kind of IBJJF and Gracie Mag, they kind of act as like they document the history of jiu-jitsu. So they know more about the history of Brazilian jiu-jitsu, sport jiu-jitsu, than anyone else. So they have just so much information and content that they can draw from that the newer players really can't. They just there's no way the newer players have as much to draw from. So I will check the IBJJF, mostly like the Instagram, because they'll post a lot when the tournaments are going on. So that's kind of my biggest interaction with them. They're probably the best source for information. So the most reliable. If something's posted on Gracie Mag or IBJJF, it's usually really legit. It's a credible source. So definitely check them out, guys. My next one, my next two are kind of like more. They cover jiu-jitsu media, but they're more MMA, mixed martial arts oriented. They show more mixed martial arts news. So the first one is bloodyelbow.com. Um, so they don't really post too much about jiu-jitsu, but every now and again they will if there's something big going on. Their biggest thing is that they have some of the best written articles. So if you're looking for like well-written articles to read about jiu-jitsu and what's going on, they do really well there. I really enjoy reading the articles. And then the next one is bjpin.com. So I'm pretty sure BJ Penn does not run this website. He probably has some deal where he licensed his name and his website out to a third party. So they do have some clickbait on the website, so just be careful of that. But the articles are usually well written. But again, both of these websites kind of focus more on mixed martial arts news, and will only cover like jiu-jitsu as far as it pertains to mixed martial arts or how it's related to mixed martial arts. So you'll see like more no-gi stuff, like information about ADCC, but not like anything about the gi tournaments. And that just kind of shows you that there's more money in mixed martial arts, so they have more resources that they can put towards those topics versus jiu-jitsu. There's less resources in it, so they put less energy into the jiu-jitsu. But they're both really great. Bloody Elbow is way more credible than bjpin.com. BJPin, it reminds me, pin.com reminds me of kind of BJJ Eastern Europe, BJJ where they will kind of post, things that haven't been verified. So just be mindful of that, guys, when you're getting your information. And my last one, this one's kind of a newer media site. It's called Dollar. It's run by, it's was started by a guy named Luca Attella. So Luca, he was the co-founder of the Gracie Mag. And so for years he worked for Gracie Mag, covering stories and taking these beautiful photographs. So eventually he decided to start his own media platform. So again, Galler is kind of a newer website. Before it was kind of like a platform for, well-known black belts to kind of share like information, like photos and videos and stories, things that might not be, bring a lot of shares or likes or clicks, but really advance just the knowledge of jiu-jitsu. And they're very relevant to jiu-jitsu, but maybe they won't get you a lot of like traffic from online traffic or something. but they're all very relevant. So I think now it's kind of changing more towards an educational platform. So it's still kind of figuring out what its niche, like what it wants to be and what it wants to do, but it has a lot of potential. Um, I think it's a great way for instructors to show techniques and just their philosophy on jiu-jitsu. They had one really great video about I think it was a week or two ago where they were did this very great documentary. It was like a very short documentary on this graduation during the Masters World Championships. So they had I think three professors. They got promoted to the red and white belt, which is probably the highest. It's one of the highest belts under the red belt. And all three of these guys trained underneath Holes Gracie, who was, if you guys know who Rickson Gracie is, Holes was Rickson before Rickson. He was like the champion of the family. And so he died during a hang gliding accident. So he wasn't able to award very many black belts. I believe like 7 black belts over his life, his short lifespan. So these 3 guys, they were, the original black belts under Holes. So I believe that's something that Gawler was really great at. It has like an alternative. It's like an alternative media platform. So things that people might not see value in initially. A lot of these websites will post, just kind of crazy things. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but like Gawler and Luca Attila, he really knows so much about the history of jiu-jitsu that he knows what people will value, even if they don't understand, they don't know what they would value for themselves. So I think that's a really great website to check out. They have some really great content too. So I just kind of wanted to do this just to kind of share with you guys like how I get my jiu-jitsu information. So I use these sources a lot. I also will talk to a lot of the main players in jiu-jitsu just because I happen to know a lot of them. So, but if you can't do that, which everyone can't do that, these sources are pretty good. It's a pretty broad spectrum. You have some that are kind of more clickbait and just trying to get eyeballs on the website, and then you have others that are very good, very reliable, and very credible sources. So I just want you guys to be informed and have just point you guys in the right direction, just so you're not just following these random websites that someone started overnight or something. All right, guys, if you like this video, like always, give me a like and please subscribe. Trying to get to my next goal is 500 subscribers, so we're slowly getting there, guys. We'll get there. Until next time, ciao.